Fukushima 9 and Regeneration. A dimensional message from the League of Light. Now the days of silence slide into growing alarm and seeping knowledge that the balance of nature is giving the tides something other than the gist of yesterday's news. Let the streaming visage from one of nature's most eloquent answers to the human question of the meaning of existence teach you one thing. You are immortal, but the bonds of life are tenuous in the face of bending dimensional frames around the incoherence of hyper-energized pulsations of light. Life in general is immortal, in the sense that it is transformed, but not ended in death. Light is the basis of all reality, yet in doses quantified in exaggeration and imbalance, with disrespect for the whole of natural time and space sequences and ratios, it glitches, it leaks, and it gives itself no equanimity in which to assemble the codes from which life can take its form within sentient armatures of reality. Thus speak we now of dangerous dynamics which the emission of radioactivity unhindered is tessellating within your world. Before the dawn of creation, masses of protonic signatures of light waved in conscious beginningness. From within the energetic waves came compressions and vortexes in which the awareness of positive and negative began its journey into form. As collisions developed in greater and more frequent intensity, sentience gathered in patternings heretofore known to you as matter, yet which at their fundamental level are and remain light. The materia thus engendered became the paradigm through which life in your world is cradled. However, in a wider view, you are riding greater waves of compression as a planetary whole and as individuals within that histogenetic sphere, and it is through this sine wave movement from moment to moment in the matrix of time that you perceive meaning. Compression and vortex thus understood, we move into the particulate reality within. Every body constructed in the universum is replete with elemental pockets and vast expanses of the compressed matter that makes up the solid world of known spatial matter. You can look at a field and know it is just filled with grass, and know that below the surface of the soil live ecosystems of various life forms, bacteria, and a simultaneously living and inert mineral-rich earth foundation. You know it is there because you have explored it, and you have likely seen the educational material showing this to be the case. You may have yourself attempted to grow living plants in a pot, and met with some degree of success, depending on your understanding and interaction with the various components involved. The invisible world beneath the visible reality determines the success of the visible reality to sustain a steady frequency-modulated living system. Thus it is with a garden, a field, a flower pot. But equally true is this for star fields and atomic fields, invisible realities that hide even less evident substrata of life support. The fractal nature of the echoes of consciousness taking shape cannot be ignored if the whole is to be understood in relation to its parts. Now, it is the invisible that supports the visible, and time ticks back and forth between the two. So it is, in fact, the truth that life gives itself the sentience that forms the basis of reality, living, whole, and pure. In truth, the visible and invisible cannot be separated from each other without failing to be at all. Destruction of life itself being not possible, however, it is true to say that the living cannot continue without the life invisible giving itself to form. One ceases to be when the interaction is divided. While the idea and intention of life are, living forms are. Where the intention of living ceases, life as form ends. If life is invisible, it is impervious to degradation, right? In the perfection of balance, yes. And to some extent, that is so, even in imperfect conditions. Life finds its way into living. However, there is some way of radicalizing that invisible intention that renders it incoherent, a scrambling of the code it creates, a slicing of the message of intent. While the energy is pure, its expression can suffer. Thus you encounter death. These invisible sigils of life are currently under siege from the invisible world of an unseen field, where time is moving too fast, and uncontrolled expression of force is shattering the smooth field of life's green world. Left to its own silent unraveling of reality, the inevitable deal is the dead man's hand. You have a shot at revising the way the effects are experienced, if you get the essential truth of the holographic nature of this visible-invisible unitary beingness. Be aware of the space between your thoughts, and the space between your words will be the genesis of blessing. Be aware of the space unseen behind the visible material reality, and the holes in the code of life will have a bridge with which to repair itself. What you place your awareness on gains in love, if love is seen as the unseen nature discernible in the depths of conscious being. Dare you delve into the dark behind the lighted shapes of life's great show of light? Dare you be in the presence of light unreflected, light absorbed into the hidden spaces of another dimension altogether, into the mysteries of darkness in all its plenitude and bewarefulness? In life is light, and in light, life is. What then of absence of life and light? The dark space between great lights is the stuff of life in the universal continuum of stellar and atomic scales. Without the space, in the reaches of time, everything would entropically collapse. Space, like light, lets life live. Compacted ever closer, elemental designs of the material expressions of Ohm's emanation of thought gain density, squeezing out the space of space to the extent that the electrical charge gives way and stability collapses upon itself. Thus does one dimension get diverted into another, and the strands of reality-holding intelligence get sheared from its code. Generally speaking, this is true for artificially induced compromises to the structure of nature's framework. Nature itself is elegantly facile with the mechanism of dimensional compression. Elements of radiance and superstructures of unfathomable mass in the far reaches of space each emit some form of dimensionally paired particulate material. Tinkering with the inner workings of nature's masses can lead to disastrous outcomes, as the binary antipodal thought that forms the nucleus of a thing loses itself in grandiose iterations of temporal blight. Too fast, too furious, the silent ejection of material goes, tearing through the time-bound structures of life's code, leaving destruction in their wake. And now we consider the thing no one seems to take seriously enough for those who feel the steady rise in alarm surrounding the biosphere, Fukushima. What happens when the non-natural arrangement of nuclear fissile material goes uncontrolled into emission is the equivalent of seeing light blind you. This is signaling to you not a sense of doom, but a fiery awakening. That which would blind you may in fact lead to opening your eyes from the darkness of ignorance imposed upon you for eons. The threat to the configuration of DNA codes may in fact signal a time of reparation of ancient sequestrations of intelligent mechanics. That which had been held in ransom for your soul's light may now be within reach if you can master the lessons of mastering reality presenting themselves to you now. One such is called Fukushima, and is one we now address. Pay attention to the ways your power is moving, and see with new eyes secret mechanisms of the universe come alive in your mind. What seems like magic is in your hands, and is nothing more than the unveiling of knowledge, the genesis of understanding of the divine science of 9. 1. All of nature rests in the self-aware unity of dimension and time. What you know as reality is the child of one, the product of one's sentience, of its life and material in a reality of material and living thought. All that is within the material realm is available to those living sentient creatures within the sphere of reality to do with as you see fit. To engineer naturally radioactive elements into greater arrangements of density has led to the instability of other aspects of one, and thus the dimensional equanimity of reality on your world is straining the bonds of space and time. Thus has one given the essence of balance to two. 2. That in this. As it relates to the phenomenon of nuclear engineering, 2 activates the transfer of particle-antiparticle interactions within the arrow of time. Through dimensional introversion, sentience becomes folded upon temporal swells, and what naturally is straightforward becomes certain of no target. Material engineered to hold great energy emits too much, too fast, and a breakdown of natural ordered codes of life and balance ensues. 3. Diametrically balanced synergies forming the basis for expressions of life rest upon the trigonometric sureties in which trusted tethers to grand designs of nature lead to satisfying experiences of embodied sentience. Loss of stability shifts the emanation point toward less satisfying outcomes, shifts the focus out of the harmonic of sustainability of life's code. 4. As life gains its source of momentum through the reproduction of life, through love's catalytic movement through and enhancement of gross materiality, living systems organize into fashion, and states of awareness seek greater playgrounds of being. Natural lineage engaged with unnatural actions of the environment of radiative influx breaks down, and systems of life lose integrity. 5. The substance of material form depends upon the function of conscious self-awareness and knowledge of essential codes. How you derive your own form is derivative of how you perceive your wholeness in truth and your reflection in the mirror. While you are often more beautiful than you think, the code of your form yet reveals more than the way you dress it. So it is with the reality around you. If the essential code of your environment has a glitch to the extent that the essential code is unable to express its truth, you will eventually see that extended through form. Fukushima is steadily amping up the pace at which it is demonstrating this to be so. 6. Searching for balance, source, and integrity, beset with the inordinate entropic tendency in which chaos seeks disorder, what you call Fukushima is in fact the breaking of the pattern of nature and a leak, slow and steady, from which dimensional stability has somewhat lost its grip. Radioactive decay as a force of nature is taking time to task and forcing the material world to get out of the way of its serial seam-ripping lesson. What it teaches is nothing short of transformational physics of the being from human into godlike service in love. How this happens is 9's relational interpolation of 6's search for sense. 7. If the belief is that the destruction of the world is necessary, then 7 has a reversion into 6 to do. If entropy grows, systems as you know them will end. What is needed to bring back the balance of nature is first the belief that it is a potential of the reality-creating machinery of mind, and the trust that the path thus opened is one that will lead to a new reality. 7 diamondizes fear and turns denial into bright worlds of life. Take hold of its line and follow it into the inevitability of recalibrated nature. 8. What the world is facing, in what has ensued since the invisible tear in its field of thermodynamic environmental stability has upset an energetic balance between invisible and visible worlds, is the biospheric code of interdependent life writing a revision. Without taking the wit out of its code, you together are presented with a chance to rewrite what love has devised, in effect creating a plot shift toward character development on a scale unprecedented in the arena of human interaction with the environment of life. Write backwards for maximum efficiency and unravel the devolving narrative of DNA. 9. Death has given itself over to love's transformative hand, and 9 generates life anew. What has begun as tears in the fabric of integrity finishes in a weave unrivaled in spectral brilliance and opalescent sheen. What the hands of man have triggered into a spiraling outpouring of material side is brought back into balance in the infinitesimal recalibration of reality's ability to give itself time to heal. Can what has been done be undone? It has already wrought itself into the annals of time. What 9 does now is to bring into being the technology and truth that gives humanity the means with which to be transformed in the bioengineering of dimensions seeking solace. Fukushima has initiated a bleed-through of time into the fabric of your world. To stanch the source of the bleeding is no easy feat for minds and hands unaccustomed to cleaning up messes. In a sense, the future is inadvertently already here. Slow time where it is rushing too fast, where quanta are burgeoning and stripping code from its foundations. Let the following become a part of your landscape. In tune with the heartbeat of the planetary body, bring your breath and mind into entrainment with the earth. Rest in her womb of nature and breathe with her for a few moments. As you sink into forgetfulness of all except that which is real in the essential plane of perfection, unfold your heart to extend into the fabric of nature's loving sentience of life. Feel tendrils of fractaline beingness entwine with the foundation of biospheric self-knowledge that envelops you and all beings, and become attuned to the settling of harmonic life force as you link your sentience with hers. In this essential world of nature, all life breathes one breath. Universal harmonics become enlivened within the expanded self-awareness thus lensed within your heart. Breathe. With each breath, bring your experience into form, and let the divine spark that tells you you are alive give life to every atom spun out from your lungs, from your mind, from your heart. Remain connected and continue to live within the awareness of integration with 9. 9 is the invisible thread of life, the empty point of potential that takes the time-constrained narrative and tells the tale of eternity as now. It is love's substance and love's intelligence, and in the moments you breathe in unison with your planet, it is the thing that breathes through you in creative potential and divine time. Rest in your breath and feel it heal what has been brought to the brink of ending. Breathe through the fractal's improbable end and find the balance within recalibration, expansion, and time. Probabilities present new elements and eventualities in the space of a moment. No longer is humanity without the ability to destroy what the intelligence of life and love have created from the thought of I am. You have tested and you have seen the outcome of tinkering with the order of natural balance. The thought I am not cannot be. Decide the next phase of your world's transformation and know the slow-moving damage you call Fukushima is surpassed in scale by instantaneous tearing of dimension through the blast of geotemporal instability that nuclear explosions initiate. It is inadvisable to go toward that eventuality. In one instant, the thought of life can determine time's path. Lessons from Fukushima are your hope to life's sequence regaining the truth of itself and codes continuing to generate self-sustaining form. We offer this insight for today as a guide for you finding your tomorrow in integrity and self-aware stability as a planetary humanity in balance and empowerment. Give your future a blessing and feel your breath regulating time in your now. Breathe together and breathe blessing and know you are not alone. Sentient life is aware of your world and love is within every dimension of space and time. In peace and blessing, we bid you loving awareness and quiet hearts full of life's potential for all to be well. We are family and neighbors. We are people of the League of Light, in peace and blessing and love.